The historical contributions of Dayton, Ohio are, for the most part, widely known. Dayton was home to the Wright brothers, Charles Kettering, and the National Cash Register Company. Lesser known is Dayton's legacy of funk music. The genre is best described as an urban form of dance music, dedicated to letting loose and forgetting about the trials and tribulations of everyday life. Funk is a byproduct of the Great Migration of African Americans to urban industrial centers following World War II and the 1960s Black Power movement. The migrants from the South and lower Midwest brought with them their own unique cultures, traditions, and musical heritage. These dynamics merged with one another to transform Dayton into a melting pot of African American culture. Their music acted as a form of social currency, forging connections between businesses, schools, families, and other African American community institutions. The success of Dayton funk served as a distraction to the city's socioeconomic, political, and cultural issues that had long been evolving. Following the end of World War II, African Americans came in droves to Dayton. As a home to Frigidaire, General Motors, and other factories, as well as Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, African Americans were able to find relatively high-wage, working-class employment. As they migrated, they largely settled in Dayton's west side. By 1960, 21.8% of Dayton residents were African American, and 80% of them lived in the west side. These residents felt a strong sense of community and chiefly kept their income within their own neighborhood. A thriving entertainment district on West 5th Street, containing businesses, theaters, clubs, and taverns, mixed African Americans of all economic classes. This further exemplified the togetherness felt by the residents and provided a strong economic foundation for young, prospective musicians. Music was a primary facet of the African American home sphere institutions, such as churches, public schools, parks, and clubs. Churches were critical sites of music performance, collaboration, and education for young African Americans. Public schools provided a crucial space for musical education, performance, and cooperation. Dayton embraced a separate but equal doctrine of public schooling. Roosevelt High School took extreme measures in segregation, providing separate swimming pools and even class photos in the yearbooks. Lobbying from the African American community seeking segregation in public schools in the West Side facilitated the creation of Dunbar High School in the 1930s. Subsequent white flight from the West Side caused Roosevelt, Roth, and Jefferson High Schools to become majority African American. All four schools had extensive music programs, in some cases requiring music theory to join choirs and marching bands. Most members of the successful funk bands of Dayton came through these high school programs. Teachers from these schools worked to develop their musicians outside the classroom. They organized talent shows and Battle of the Bands, which helped hone the students' talents. In addition to their high school music education, prospective funk musicians found support from established groups. Following their national success, the Ohio Players realized their role as mentors to younger musicians and often came back to Dayton to work with high school music teachers. They also regularly hired budding funk musicians from Dayton, allowing them to play backing music in concerts. In the case of Junie Morrison and Diamond Williams, these youngsters joined the group on a full-time basis. Furthering community involvement, Dayton had an array of small, independent labels that released singles from local artists, allowing them to amass a regional following. WDAO radio DJ and program director Turk Logan pushed the station to consistently air local music, even when the records were produced independently. African American artists had a few different venues to perform their work, mostly in the West 5th Street corridor. Also on the west side was the Lakeside Amusement Park. Lakeside was built in 1890 on 7 acres of land at the corner of Gettysburg and Lakeside Avenues. It was very popular for people of all races through its closing in 1964. The group Lakeside took their name from the park, and the Ohio Players song Love Roller Coaster was written with the park in mind. After it closed, the ballroom was saved and converted into a music hall known as the Lakeside Palladium. This hall hosted countless up-and-coming funk artists on their way to stardom. From the period between 1972 and 1988, 16 funk and R&B groups with connections to Dayton amassed more than 110 charting R&B singles, more than any other city. The first successful Dayton funk band was the Ohio Players. After 12 years of constant work, the Players charted with the album Pain in 1972. This was the first of 11 top-selling R&B albums, including 4 straight #1 records. Even at the height of their success, the Players called Dayton their home, starting a trend which subsequent bands would follow. The Ohio Players' success and constant mentoring to younger musicians led to a bumper crop of Dayton funk groups in the mid-1970s. The groups Dayton, Phazo, Heatwave, Lakeside, Slave, Sun, and Zapp and Roger all amassed top 20 albums in this time. Of these, Zapp proved to be the most successful. Led by musical virtuoso Roger Troutman, Zapp was formed in 1978 with Roger and his 3 brothers. Employing a highly futuristic electronic sound led by Roger's talkbox vocoder, Zapp hit #1 with their debut self-titled album. They followed with 3 more top 10 albums alongside Roger's flourishing solo career. The group also gave back to the Dayton community through Troutman Enterprises. They purchased low-income housing, renovated them, then provided low-interest rate loans to people who couldn't afford housing any other way. The funk groups of Dayton never forgot the community from which they came from. The Dayton community is starting to remember the funk legacy they left behind. A musical sculpture has been erected to honor Roger Troutman at the site of his former music studio, and the Land of Funk Museum and Hall of Fame is slated to open in Dayton in December.